Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I'm your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm privileged to welcome a very dear friend, a fellow member of the YPO, an accomplished and respected entrepreneur from Hyderabad, India, Mr. Vagish Dixit. Vagish, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Ashutosh Bhai.
Thank you.
Pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Vagish is the managing director of Alpla India Private Limited. He's also the chief engagement officer of Alpla Global. Alpla is one of the largest and most respected companies in the world in the field of plastic bottles and caps. He's also the honorary consul for Austria for the states of Telangana and Andhra Pradesh. Vagish is very passionate about wildlife photography, and we will talk about it. And something that is not talked about very much, but I know him very well. He's a stand-up comedian and an accomplished singer. And as I mentioned earlier, he's a fellow member of the YPO. So Vagish, before we talk about plastics and sustainability, tell me a little bit about your own journey.
Thanks for the invitation, Ashutosh. And I'm born in Calcutta, originally from North, never lived there. And as you know now, 40 years settled in Hyderabad. Being born in Calcutta, always had a semi-leftist bent of mind, socialistic, desh ka udhar, ityadi, ityadi. So I was reasonably good in studies. I got a chance to do my MBA in Chicago and finished very early by the age of 22, I think. And then I had a choice to work in US. I had a good job offer that time, $35,000, $40,000 was a lot of money in 1984. And of course, I had the chance to pursue PhD. In those days, you could go into PhD or DBA more or less after your master's. You didn't have to wait for 5, 6, 7 years. But मैंने कहा यदि रुक गए ना तो वापस नहीं जा पाएंगे.
Absolutely.
So 1984 में I took a call to come back to India and start my own thing. And the one single agenda was to create 500 jobs. So why 500 jobs? Because it sounded a little bit large for somebody who had never seen more than 5 or 6 people work. My father had started his own workshop after working for different companies in plastics for a long time. And he had 5, 6 employees. So मैंने कहा भाई 500 लोगों का उद्धार हो गया तो बहुत. So I really thought that would be the aim. Minor detail, I had no money. I had an education loan, so it was a negative balance sheet. But that didn't deter me. And these days when I talk to ISB students, I mentor quite a few students. I always say people take it upon themselves with pleasure to deride our country many times. I say it was in 84 India that gave me seed capital assistance, banking finance without any collateral, which no country in the world would have given. 10-12 lakh ka loan, 3-4 lakh ki equity. We started off. A lot of my friends said you're really stupid to do this. But I said if I fail, then I can always go back to US and do a PhD and teach people how to do business. And that's where the journey started.
Yeah.
And I did manage to get to that 500 mark somewhere in mid-90s. And then, of course, if you're driven by the passion to contribute to your society, I believe for-profit business is the best medium because it unshackles you from various domains if you're non-profit. I also support non-profit activities vehemently. But for-profit ke through society ka impact can be large. And that's where I started my journey. And we now employ more than 2,000 people directly and indirectly. Of course, now the yardstick has changed. We are heavily into diversity and inclusion. We're looking at education, skilling, helping people at the bottom of the pyramid to find their mojo. So, yeah.
Very interesting. But tell me a little bit more about Alpla and the kind of work they do globally and what was the motivation to partner with Alpla in India?
So, Ashutosh, I was probably one of the first Indians to export plastic caps to
Okay.
US in 1997, 98.
Hmm.
This was a time when Coca-Cola and other companies were importing plastic caps for Coke.
Hmm.
Plastic नया नया आया ही था. And I was exporting to US, and these were not competing with China. These were competing with American companies running
Hmm.
on high-speed lines and products like mustard caps, ketchup, baby powder, so
Hmm.
sensitive products, and they were being filled for Walmart and many other companies. So some of my customers, Proctors and Johnsons and many others, encouraged me to find a global partner,
Hmm.
and uh, I landed up talking to a few. I wasn't very excited. And then my US distribution partner, Andrew Berlin, I must call him out, he was running a $100 million company, which by now is over 5 billion, and he's divested it quite handsomely, and we are still very close friends. Suggested that I partner Alpla.
Hmm.
It's a family company in Austria. He knows them, and he took the effort to actually fly with me to Austria, introduce me to the Alpla leadership in 2004, I think. And I still remember telling them, "You must come to India." They said, "We've tried India; it's not ready for us." And I was much younger, and so probably
Hmm.
shooting my mouth much quicker. And I said, "Gentlemen, India will never be ready for you. You have to be ready for India."
Hmm.
And to their credit, and they've been very successful, even at that point of time, they were a billion euro company. They said, "Okay, let's look at it." Their CEO visited us after 6, 7 months, spent 3 days, and said, "We don't have partners anywhere in the world, but we believe we are ready for making a change." And we shook hands, and we've never looked back.
Amazing.
That's
And,
the journey with Alpla. We are now,
absolutely.
my friends always say, Vagish, I mean, I had two cousins who divested their stake, and I got the Alpla family. It's a family company coming in. So my friends always said, Vagish, in business, traded two Indian cousins for three Austrian cousins.
Excellent. And as they say, the rest is history. But,
Yes.
Vagish, plastics has always been a sensitive topic. And I know in all my conversations and interactions with you, you're very conscious about sustainability. And I keep seeing your posts on LinkedIn on how you and Alpla are doing so many different things. So I'm going to now focus some of our conversations on plastics and sustainability. Let me start by asking you, tell me about Alpla's approach to sustainability and how it has influenced the company's growth in India.
So I would even backtrack 20 years before I shook hands with Alpla. And again, there are many things we Indians need to be proud of, but क्या होता है कि we don't market ourselves as a nation and as a people very well.
Hmm.
And therefore, good things go unnoticed.
Hmm.
You will be surprised, Ashutosh, that sustainability conversations are now 10, 12 years old,
Correct.
and maybe 15 at most.
Hmm.
But bulk of it is coming into play after that 2016 video on the turtle who was ringed and things
Yeah.
like that. But you will be surprised that in 1984, my first product in India was a regulator cover
Okay.
for fan industry,
Hmm.
Cromptons, Usha, Bajaj. And I my success was by using completely 100% recycled polypropylene
Wow.
in 1984 at half the price of virgin material.
Hmm.
I processed it myself with some third party, brought it, but I realized that white color cannot be reprocessed to white.
Hmm.
So we made it brown. And
Hmm.
you recall, Ashutosh, that late 70s, early 80s, सारे fan white होते थे.
Hmm.
My
Correct.
contribution, along with my little baby company, was we converted the color to brown. And
Hmm.
that became because the regulators were and canopies were cheaper with this
Hmm.
brown material.
Hmm.
And the fan industry said, wait a minute, if we color the fan brown, dust नहीं दिखाई देता, ये नहीं होता है, वो नहीं होता है,
Hmm.
and the whole industry turned nearly 80% to brown. This
Wow.
was 84. And then Crompton's complained कि यार ये regulator जल जाता है थोड़ा,
Hmm.
because of course the material had degraded. So
Hmm.
we added what talc.
Hmm.
It was the first calcium and talc impregnated polypropylene, uh, I think 20 years before the world started to use these kind of
Wow.
products.
Hmm.
So this was our genesis, and we have to understand India has always been very sustainable in every possible way. हमारे यहाँ
Correct.
plastic ही नहीं, metal भी, everything. So that brought the marriage between me and Alpla on a platform of shared values.
Hmm.
So, moving to Alpla, again, Alpla as a company in 2005, when I was just about shaking hands, was installing their first joint venture with Coca Cola and FEMSA. FEMSA is one of their partners in Mexico
Hmm.
for a recycling plant for 15 to 20,000 tons.
Hmm.
I mean, this is 20 years ahead of the
Right.
age.
Hmm.
I felt this is the right thing to do. वही बात है कि what is good for society,
Hmm.
good for business.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
So at the core of Alpla has
Hmm.
always been sustainability. So
Hmm.
in our business, we also now our tagline or our mission statement has changed. We talk about safe, affordable, and sustainable solutions.
Hmm. Well said. Well
And
said.
and we don't even use the word plastics because
Hmm.
we are any solution. So we are also the first company in the world to launch paper bottle.
Hmm.
Boboko is
Hmm.
it's still work in progress. We've launched. We are partnering with many companies. So we are very open-minded from this point of view.
Hmm.
And we have been doing the following. You know, we talk about the 4 Rs, recycle, reuse, वगैरह वगैरह. तो
Hmm.
इसमें reduce and तो reduce तो हम 20-25 साल से कर रहे हैं.
Hmm.
जो बोतल पहले 50 ग्राम की होती थी आज 25 की होती है. So less plastic is good for society.
Hmm.
And we've been doing this by hurting our own top line forever. It's part of our
Correct.
genetic wiring.
Amazing.
And
You also spoken about the circular economy, which is so important in
yeah.
your business. Tell me a little bit about how are you handling or contributing to the circular economy?
So, you know, again, taking the example of India
Hmm.
and then going to the world. India's circularity was based on the most profound um, basis of commercial viability. So हमारे यहाँ bottles पिकअप होती हैं, न्यूज़पेपर पिकअप होते हैं, सब होते हैं, कमर्शियली पिकअप होते हैं एंड रिसाइकल होते हैं. You will be surprised that more than 95% PET bottles, PET bottles,
Hmm.
are recycled in India.
Hmm.
You see on the road is just poor civic behavior expressed in terms of people throwing. Otherwise, it has commercial value.
Hmm.
Globally, uh, US has been, let's say, very, very much in the, you know, let's say in the back foot on recycling.
Hmm.
Less than 30% recycling now. I mean, earlier तो कुछ भी नहीं था. Everything was going into landfill.
Hmm.
Using a lot of material like styrofoams which are never recycled. So आप देखिए इंडिया में nobody till now used those foam packets for burgers because you know you eat a burger, you throw it and it goes into
Correct.
landfill. So we
Hmm.
always had आप चाय की दुकान पे जाएंगे तो स्टील की प्लेट देगा. It's a
Hmm.
sustainable solution. So
Hmm.
this circularity has been in India. Now the world and so at all government forums and industry forums, I say first be proud that we are the largest recyclers in the world in terms of percentage in PET.
Hmm.
And in rigids, more than 80-85%. Our problem is sachets.
Hmm.
There again, we are disproportionately large users along with Indonesia and Thailand and a few.
Hmm.
China has moved out a lot from sachets for
Hmm.
commercial reasons. So वो जो है 80% of the problem comes from sachets.
Hmm.
And for the fact that tier 3, tier 4 consumers use them, so there is no drastic decision of banning them or stopping their use. So we are barking up the wrong tree. We are after PET bottles, which are 95% recycled,
Hmm.
and missing the point that 80% of the landfill is from basically sachets.
Hmm.
From a circularity point of view, this whole ecosystem
Hmm.
in India is quite established, even though it is what we call as the informal economy.
Hmm.
But you know, 80% of Indian business is also SME.
Correct.
and small scale. So we don't dismiss it by calling them small hai, informal hai. वो हमारी बुनियाद है.
Hmm.
The rest of the world is investing a lot. We are also investing a lot in
Yeah.
India in recycling, collection in a more organized manner.
Hmm.
And we are already producing about 350,000 tons of recycled materials, PCR, worldwide.
Hmm.
And yeah, so
Amazing.
quietly puts their money where the mouth is.
Amazing. The other perspective I wanted from you, Vagish, was that you've often spoken about some amazing innovations that are being done by Alpla India. Tell me a little bit about some of the key innovations from Alpla in India that are first on a global scale.
So thanks for asking. You know, surprisingly, our most breakthrough innovation was sustainably based.
Hmm.
But of course, क्या है कि we have a program called Thrill Strategy, thrilling our ultimate consumer, who's the customer of our customer. And that can be done through first moment of truth, which is Laflay's famous articulation and
Hmm.
simplification. According to us, that is one of the thrill. Second is creating amazing economies of operations. So if you're running at 99% accuracy, you move to Six Sigma, that's a thrill. And the third is creating value.
Hmm.
Our first innovation that was world class was to convert a glass bottle for Jhandu Bam, which was an
Hmm.
Indian company,
Hmm.
to plastics,
Okay.
and using a technology for two color in a cube platform, which was used for automotive in packaging and for India. At a time where our turnover was 50 crores, we invested nearly 20-30 crores in
Wow.
this unproven technology. And I still remember we were like, ये अगर if this doesn't work, तो वो संस्कृत में कहते हैं ना पुनः मूषिका back to
Hmm.
becoming a mouse, वो हो जाती है situation.
Hmm.
But it was sustainable because it saved carbon footprint, dramatic carbon footprint. It saved money and it looked good and it avoided duplication.
Very
So,
much.
Udagadun Sampan.
Hmm.
You will be surprised what used to sell that time 2-3 crores pieces a year now is over 20-25 crore. And the consumer is well protected. And we were the first in the world. And subsequently, we applied this for Horlicks, where again a lot of benefit moved to the client. Then Procter used it for Pantene and Head and Shoulders. Unilever used it in
Hmm.
2010-11. And you will be pleased to know in this technology, the largest producer in the world for caps, nearly 1.7 billion in two color cube, is Alpla India, पूरी दुनिया में.
Hmm.
वो
Wow.
था. फिर हमने एक्सट्रूजन ब्लोन ट्यूब्स बनाई विच वर 100% रिसाइक्लेबल सॉल्यूशन. बहुत हमने काम किया है विच वाज फर्स्ट इन द वर्ल्ड. सो हमें वी आर looked upon in the Alpla world as a very innovative company, and that's why I have this new role as the chief engagement
Yeah.
officer since last 4 years. So,
Correct.
bringing this thought liberation uh, to the rest of our world. So we work.
Amazing. Amazing. So I've got one more question for Alpla, and then I want to move to another segment. When I was reading about you and preparing for our conversation, I was fascinated with the work Alpla does with pace.
Ji.
Tell me a little bit about how you are contributing to a cleaner environment and what are the organization's current priorities?
So, PACE was formed many years back, reflecting the will of very, very responsible companies
Hmm.
like Reliance, Coca-Cola, Dabur, many processors like
Hmm.
us,
Hmm.
and various other companies. And I don't want to miss out other companies. There's
Yeah.
26 companies in it, Indian companies like
Hmm.
Distillery, Dabur, मैंने आपको बताई,
Hmm.
काफी company है, who wanted to use a, a, a platform where we could work towards a sustainable solution. So PT Association for Clean Environment कि कैसे क्या किया जाए. So I was invited some years back to be the president of PACE,
Hmm.
and it was quite an honor because they're all very strong thought leaders here.
Hmm.
The work PACE has done is quite interesting. We have first of all, we didn't want this to be a talking platform and only do blah blah blah.
Mm.
We wanted this to be a platform of facts. So we invested quite substantive amounts to do research. कि people say कि PET की bottles में माइक्रो प्लास्टिक होता है, ये होता है, वो होता है, हार्मफुल है, लीचिंग होती है. We have gone to Government of India's accredited labs because then there is no bias. Spent nearly 1.5 crores on research because this requires also, you know, using with uh, rats and this and that. वो काफी मतलब within the ethical dimension. And 1.5 साल की वो study, and we were prepared if the results show that plastic is less than good. I have said it in many platforms. We are not tied to plastic. We are all professionals. We will find whatever adds value to us. The
Mm.
results were amazing. That this is one of the safest material in the world.
Right.
And so this kind of work based on science, based on facts, and then of course we work with the society. We have our own collection centers. We also educate various stratas of society. Of course, there's much more to be done. We are still a drop in the ocean.
Early stages. Now let's, Vagish, move to something that you're passionate about, which is wildlife photography. And over the last 10, 12, 15 years that I have known you, and I think you find the time to go out and pursue this passion. But tell me, how did your passion for wildlife photography begin? And what are some of your favorite wildlife subjects?
So Ashutosh, it was in 2019. I'm 63 now, so this
Mm.
is like 5 years back. So I didn't start at the age of 20 or 30. It was at 58. I was going to Africa to attend a global meeting of YPO. I'm the South Asia chairman elect, following your footsteps. And we were to be in Cape Town for a week.
Mm.
So my wife Shobha and I both were there, and we said, Africa जा रहे हैं तो we must do some wildlife trip. And I was already in process of being appointed as honorary consul for Austria. So the ambassador of Austria, she was a subject matter expert of Africa. So she suggested, no, no, don't go to South Africa. You can, it's a fabulous thing. Go to Botswana.
Mm.
So we went to Botswana based on her itinerary and recommendation. And उस समय हमारे बहुत प्रिय मित्र हैं, you know him, जीवी प्रसाद, डॉक्टर रेड्डी के चेयरमैन हैं. He said, तुम जाओगे, you will take your Samsung S8 or whatever. That's not the. You please take a good camera because the subjects will be fabulous.
Mm.
Quite reluctantly, I took his camera. He gave me two. I said, what do I do with two? He explained to me. And he was kind to spend a few hours to tell me how to shoot on fully automatic mode,
Mm.
how to charge the battery, how to unload the media. Gave me a lot of gyan. Gave me a nice National Geographic bag. So wherever I would go, they thought I was probably a professional with a big
Okay.
camera and a nice National Geographic bag.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
5 days in the jungle was totally, absolutely mesmerizing for me.
Mm.
I realized I had a keen interest in photographing birds,
Mm.
and that's where it all started. And yeah, it's been 5 years. I
Amazing.
wish I can do more, but you asked which are my favorite places. Any jungle is my favorite.
Amazing.
But if I look back, I find Kenya and Tanzania. I mean, both Masai Mara and that particular area is so stunning and so beautiful. But I've also been to Brazil, in Pantanal, in India, in all the parks in Madhya Pradesh or in Uttarakhand, in Karnataka. There's still more than a dozen that I need to go. I was recently in Indonesia. I didn't even know this place existed, North Sulawesi.
Mm-hmm.
Bird watching was absolutely mesmerizing.
Amazing.
It is very liberating. It also connects with my soul of seeing nature so closely.
Correct.
So I am a big defender of nature. So I want to do things that support nature.
So, as you were talking, I was reminded of a conversation I had on my podcast with a very well-known photographer, Mr. Akash Das. And his two passions for photography were elephants and models.
Elephants and
Models. So I asked him, why such a diverse topic? Elephants and models who are walking on the ramp. And his answer was brilliant. He says, one is for the eyes and one is for the stomach. So I thought I must share that with you. But I have time for two more questions for you. And my next
I
question
might
is,
say that
hmm,
bird photography is all about eyes.
correct, correct. Now
So
you're being polite, but okay.
I can
So
empathize with his comment.
absolutely. But my next question, and I have time for two more questions. Do you see a connection, Vagish, between your work in sustainability and your passion for capturing the beauty of nature?
I'm passionate about my work.
Yeah.
I don't see it as work. I see it as a mission,
Hmm.
and I see it as as the strongest possible opportunity to touch the few thousand lives directly, and the 3 billion people who use our products worldwide. You'll be surprised. 3 billion people touch an Alpla product every day.
Hmm.
So this sparks me in the morning to get up and do something amazing during the day.
Hmm.
And it's the same thing in a jungle. So I always say I don't consider this work life. My life is work, my work is life. It doesn't mean I work 12 hours. I
Hmm.
might work 5, but it doesn't feel like work. It seems
Hmm.
like fun. And that's what I tell all my team. I said, Bhai, life is fleeting. Enjoy the journey. Forget the results.
Hmm.
Result आएंगे बहुत अच्छा है, नहीं आए तो भी एक दिन दुखी हो जाएंगे.
Hmm.
But don't mess up 364 days for that one day of momentary pleasure or momentary sorrow. So for me, both are connected, both are absolutely the same. But I have a bias being in a jungle because the sounds of jungle, smell of jungle, I think it is heavenly and soul stirring.
Amazing. And my last question to you, and this is for the thousands of people who will listen to our conversation. Most of them are very young people. You've been a successful entrepreneur, Vagish. You were telling me in our conversation you mentor a lot of young business school students. For our viewers and listeners, what would you say are three lessons from your life you would want our viewers and listeners to take away?
Let me try to think this through. The first, without doubt,
Hmm.
is strive for a purpose.
Hmm.
This we always do, but it was distilled by a very close friend who gave me the cameras, G. V. Prasad. Uh, he told me long back, he is also a bit of a self appointed mentor for me. He said, Bagish, people who run after a purpose, Lakshmi runs after them.
Hmm.
But people who run after money, Lakshmi is Chanchala. She will
Correct.
get them. So first thing is run after a purpose, whether it is to solve like what we do. We are talking about safe, affordable, and sustainable solutions. We don't wake up in the morning and think, ki, what is our valuation today, or how much money are we going to make this quarter, you know? And probably being a private company, family owned helps. So this is my first comment.
Hmm.
The second is be nice with everyone.
Hmm.
It is totally, absolutely a waste of life if your success is on the dead bodies of others.
Hmm.
It doesn't mean that one need not be objective and need not move.
Hmm.
Being nice comes free.
Hmm.
And I am always so surprised when people take pride in marking the trees, as we would call it in the jungle language,
Hmm. Hmm.
and show themselves to be one up. So being nice is important. And the last is enjoy the journey and be grateful for what you have.
Hmm.
Sometimes we forget, and I know it sounds very philosophical, but life is philosophy.
Correct.
The fact that you and I are talking, which means our vocal cords are working, we can see each other, our hands are moving, our legs are moving. Normalcy is the biggest boon of God
Mm,
and the most underestimated asset by people till they lose something.
mm,
ये तीन चीज हाथ में रहे ना,
mm,
तो आदमी कहीं भी जा सकता है वो.
mm,
देर आर नो बाउंड्री कंडीशंस, और
mm.
नहीं भी गया तो कोई खास बात
Very well said.
नहीं. एंजॉय द एफर्ट.
Mm. Very well said. And Vagish, on that note, and your three amazing lessons, which my viewers and listeners would love to understand more through our conversation: strive for a purpose, be nice to everyone. This is such a powerful set of words. People don't realize how powerful being nice to everyone is. And third one is enjoy the journey and be grateful for what you have. Thank you so much for speaking to me about your own incredible journey. Even though I thought I knew you very well, I did not know about your PhD part. Somehow we never discussed that. Maybe time is coming, one of these days, when you decide to hand over to your sons to actually go and finish your PhD. Thank you for talking to me about Alpla, about sustainability. I think the amount of work Alpla is doing, not just in India, but globally, on sustainability is so important. And I was amazed to find that you actually are bringing in a lot of firsts from our own country, which are going global. Thank you also for speaking to me about wildlife photography. And it's so important for each one of us to develop one passion. And you clearly have developed a passion for wildlife photography in the last 5, 6 years. We didn't get a chance to speak about your being a stand up comedian. And I didn't also mention that you're probably one of the most well spoken people when it comes to multiplicity of languages. I see you break into multiple languages all the time. So just want to say thank you again for speaking to me and all the very best to you.
Thank you so much, Ashutosh. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.